Okay, ready to go.
Okay. The June 10th special meeting, work session meeting for the Town of Hideout Planning Commission is now called to order. First, we will do a roll call. Joel,
Present.
thank you. Rachel,
Here.
Glynis is excused. Donna is excused. Chase, Peter, once again is not. I think believe that makes 19 out of the last. Sorry, out of the last 19, that makes 12 that he has missed for the record for the town council. Okay, so we'll get this work session, and Tony's here. And started to discuss a proposed amendment of the Hideout Town Engineering Standard Specifications and Drawings Manual regarding the addition of an alternate road standard for roads which meet certain criteria. Thomas, I don't know if you want to start off or let Gordon take the ball and run with it.
I think
Whichever
I
you
will
guys want to go.
I think I'll turn it over to Gordon and let's go from there.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Gordon.
Okay. Yeah, so I just need to have the opportunity to share my screen.
You bet, go for it.
Let's see. Oh, there it is. Okay. It says you cannot start screen share while other participant is sharing.
I just jumped off. So do you want to try it one more time?
Yeah, try it one more time because I share.
There it goes. All right. Do y'all see the fire truck?
Yes.
And color, no less.
Yeah. Okay. So the typical section that you see on top, that is the current local street standard for Hideout. So that that provides parking on both sides, snow storage on both sides, pedestrian walkways on both sides, and 20 feet down the middle for emergency response. And then public utility easement with the slope maximums there. It has come to staff's attention that the town might benefit from other standards on local streets depending on certain criteria. And so these are the criteria that that we thought about. One would be parking could be eliminated if it doesn't front a residence. And if residents are not on the opposite side of the street and the developer controls both sides of the street, parking for residents could be on the one side, could be on the opposite side. That's a little bit wordy, but does that make sense? Does anyone have any questions about what that means?
Nope.
All right, I guess not. And so then on the criterion number 2, and these criteria could be implemented independently. The second one would be sidewalk could be eliminated and snow could be placed in the public utility easement if there's no potential destination for pedestrians, or the street is a dead end with less than 13 residences and there's no potential destination for the pedestrians. The no potential destination for pedestrians is a very objective standard. It's very measurable. The standard of no less than or with less than 13 residences, that number 13, that is somewhat arbitrary. Now, I forgot with the introduction, with that when staff became aware that this was something that the city might want to consider, staff brought ideas to the general plan steering committee a couple of times. And obviously the planning commission is not obligated to do what the steering committee did or decided, but these ideas were vetted through that committee. So these particular criteria, as an example, the way that those would manifest themselves in the context of a development like the Wild Horse development would be as shown. So Wolf Road, would be so Wolf Road is the one that goes up to Mr. Wolf's property from the entrance to claim. These criteria would manifest themselves in this way. There is a destination for pedestrians. That is the commercial development they have up there. And so that would require the sidewalk on that side. The right side would be where that commercial development is proposed to be. And then there would be houses on the west side, which is the left, but pursuant to this criterion that if residents are not on the opposite side of the street and the developer controls both sides of the street, the developer could choose to put his parking for the residents on the other side of the street. So that's how you see that manifest here. For Wild Horse Way, going up the hill. Let's see. Thomas, did I forget? Oh, no, I guess not. There was another scenario here. Anyway, let me just finish this. So criterion number one, parking can be eliminated if it does not front a residence. So, they could alternate parking on Wild Horse Way. There would be parking in front of the residences and not elsewhere.
Gordon, you didn't forget one. The three included the one that you showed initially, the 54-foot right of way, the standard. So you've got them all in there.
Okay. And then
just to be clear, Gordon, so Wild Horse Way would be for the residential development only beyond, say, in the Wild Horse example, beyond the Mr. Wolf's house.
Yeah, going up the hill. And so the rationale there is that there's no destination for pedestrians, and there's and sidewalks eliminated because there's no let's see. There's no potential destination for pedestrians. If you assume that the people who live up the hill, that the restaurant isn't a destination for them. So
Gordon, basically then the sidewalk will be stopping at the entrance to that community.
Correct. It would only be on the east side of Wolf Road,
Which is the road that goes basically from 248 up to the commercial, correct?
No, it'd be from it'd be from the existing claim intersection up to Bill Wolf's property.
But Gordon, with the sidewalk, we had talked a little bit about this. The sidewalk would go up to the entrance of the commercial building, right? Or right?
Well, but that's all the same thing. It would have to go up to that intersection. Well, so I don't have a site plan for that, but
Let me see if I can pull one up.
okay, I guess it would technically, it would only go up to the south side of their entrance. And maybe I have that in my history here.
Here, I'm trying to find it here. I found it, Gordon, if you want. Do you want me to pull it up?
Yeah, so let me stop the share.
So just to orient everybody, this is the entryway up to Mr. Wolf's house, which is up in this area. This is the road that then goes up to the single-family residences.
And where are the driveways?
The driveways that are for the villa units along 248,
Yeah,
so they would be kind of in this location here.
okay. And what's the width you're proposing for that road?
And this would be 27 feet. So,
So let me go back to that. Let's see. No, the Wolf Road would be 37.
well, the right of way, right?
Yeah, top back of curb to top back of curb would be 27. And then there'd be 5 feet on the east side for snow storage and another 5 feet for a sidewalk on the east side. So the right of way would be
It would be 37.
37. And then you'd have 10-foot public utility easements beyond that on each side.
And Gordon, with regard to the sidewalk, so if you're coming up from Claim or whatever, would you come in here and then go up into the unit, or are you suggesting it would go beyond that point? Because that may be something that we'll have to resolve with them.
I don't think from an elevation standpoint, I don't think there's any way they can access that.
Access here.
Yeah. So it would go up to the entrance.
And I just want to hop in. I know that we're kind of using this as an example because this project is what started this discussion. but I just want to remind everyone, this is going to be our standards. This is just one sample. We are not discussing
That's right.
what works for wild horse or doesn't work for wild horse. We're looking at what are the best road standards related to a situation where you have a dead end road or no pedestrian, not much pedestrian use or that type of thing. But I don't want to delve too deep into wild horse other than just to use it as a general example.
All right, I'll start with my opinion, I guess.
Let me go back and just share my screen so you guys can have you as you have your discussion, so you can have that in front of you. So I'm going to go ahead and share that.
All right, I don't even feel like I need it. I just don't feel like we should be modifying our standards just to meet the needs of developers. I think we should be sticking with the standards that we've established, and also the idea of expecting that people are gonna just park on one side of the road doesn't wash with me at all, because they're not doing it now. There's a lot of places where there's been cars parked on both sides of the roads where they're only supposed to be parking on one side. And I don't think, unless we have somebody actually
I think we'll have
enforcing
to,
it, it's not gonna happen.
I think you're right, Rachel. We'll have to have signs and enforcement. That does make sense.
But even signs, it's not, it's not really being enforced.
No, but that's an issue, Rachel, that the town will have
We have to address.
to address. All right, and that would fall under public safety. I've raised that issue with the administration.
I agree, but
Because
for that
of what
reason, I don't
happens
think we
in-
should be changing our standards.
You are certainly entitled to your opinion. That's why we have this. So.
Okay.
Hey, Gordon, it's Joel. I have a question on, I understand these standards 32 feet. And then this email from the Utah Fire Marshals Association, State Fire Marshal, Utah State Fire Chiefs says max of 32 feet. And in this plan, it shows 32 feet. So it looks like we are, within the acceptable limits of that. But your email says something a little different. I just wanted to get a clarification on that. Your email from June 5th said 29 feet of asphalt plus another 1.5 feet for curb pans. But you rounded up to 30. It says we require 30 feet of asphalt with 1.5 feet curb pans, which means 33 feet. So are we a foot over? That's where I'm kind of confused.
Yeah, so here we have let's see. Oh, did I do my math wrong?
I mean, this diagram shows 32 feet, but in your email, you stated vehicle traversable pavement of 33 feet.
Oh, okay. Let me get back to that. I'm still sharing, right? So you can see that?
Yep.
Yeah.
I was thinking at that moment of a traversable curb. So let's see, if you add this up, we've got 32, and then that's curb face to curb face. And if you add 6 inches for each curb, that's where you get to 33.
Okay.
Because that's to back of curb, Joel.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So we are within the parameters of this document of 32 feet maximum.
Oh, yeah, on the standard that's adopted,
Yes.
we are squarely compliant with what they're talking about.
Okay.
That's where it came from. This all originated from the fire code. What we did is we took the fire code requirement of the 32 feet, and then we went outward from that based on these other needs of snow storage and pedestrian access.
Right. Right. So that other foot that I'm just reading in your email where it's total of 33 feet, 6 inches of that is the actual curb on each side.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Okay. That was my question. Okay.
Yeah, Joel, maybe the easiest way to think about it is almost the, from one end of the structure to the other end of the structure in cross section.
Yep. Yep. Got it.
Okay, but where I thought you were headed with that, Joel, was, so why are we, if they're demanding 32, why are we doing 26? Or yeah, why are we doing 26 here? Well, the letter was a generalization. They were talking about this general scenario. But if you start restricting parking, then the fire code will allow less. And so, the developers, that whole letter was about some cities requiring more. The fire code is all right with requiring less if you start restricting parking.
Mm-hmm.
But we got to this point because of the discussion about the difficulty of enforcing parking, and the reality is that people like to have a place for visitors to park.
So I guess my question is, the purpose of tonight's meeting is to review these different road widths.
Well, it's to see if the planning commission has an appetite for offering a variance in the standard based on these criteria, or other criteria that the planning commission might want to suggest.
Gotcha.
Alicia, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is just a work session. This was not public noticed or anything that we would need public input on?
That's correct.
It's not a public hearing that we're taking public input, but it was noticed as a meeting to comply with the Open Public Meeting Act.
So being that we have a quorum, could we vote to accept it, give it a positive recommendation to the town council tonight? Or do we have to wait till our next meeting?
Actually, Mr. Chairman, we have to wait till the next meeting where we publicly notice it 10 days prior. So this is really just a work session to give you all a heads up, but it will be noticed for the next meeting on the 26th.
Okay.
So I was thinking, as Commissioner Cooper was expressing a negative opinion about this, I was thinking, well, what would happen if the planning commission in this work session, if our straw poll indicated that the planning commission didn't support it, would we even take it further?
Gordon, I'll tell you, I support it. Speaking just for myself.
Anyway, just a question. I was wondering about that scenario.
For me, my opinion is that we have very diverse topography here, and I think, sure, I would like every road to be that width, the top drawing, but with the topography we have, if we want to, develop some of the some of the pieces of property out there, I think we do have to look at this. I think it comes down to, does the town want to put up the no parking signs and enforce it? Because Rachel, you're right. It's not enforced. A lot of things aren't enforced. Why have it on the books? I understand just having it on the books, so it's on the books, but I think enforcement is an important issue, because it only takes once for people to double park and a fire truck not to get through, and then it becomes a major issue. So, but I am certainly open to, Gordon, these drawings that you have created and the road widths. Not everywhere, but I think where it makes sense, if, for our developer partners to do it. So I'm curious, Gordon, on your thoughts.
Well, I think that as I indicated, the criteria for not having parking, if there aren't residences there, and the criterion for not having a sidewalk if there's no destination, those are very objective. And from an engineering standpoint, I like objectivity. The one that gives me a little distress is the 13 residences. That's arbitrary. It just
Right.
is. And
Gordon?
so someone is going to come along and with a scenario where they show 14, and then they're going to be saying, well, what's the difference between 13 and 14? There is no difference. That was arbitrary when you guys decided it, and so that gives me some discomfort, that number.
Gordon, we might want to think about that. We might not even need to put the 13 residences in. It could be the street is a dead-end street, less than a mile in length or less than 3/4 of a mile in length or something like that. I mean, that could be an alternative, very objective standard. I have seen more often than not where I've seen the disallowance of sidewalks in zoning codes. They've either had a street length and or 15 residences I've seen is pretty common. You're right. I guess you could make the argument that that is a bit arbitrary, but I suppose most zoning codes, even heights, the height in a residential 1 versus a residential 2 district, 35 or 42 feet, could probably be considered arbitrary. But I wonder if maybe we think about length of dead end street. That might be.
Thomas, could we also think
What?
about type of structure? I mean, single family homes as opposed to a condominium unit on something like that.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Or yeah.
That would something, if you have a higher density, you're going to have a lot more cars going up and down that road.
Well, okay. So first of all, to Thomas's comment about length, according to so we don't have a regulation on length. The town doesn't have a regulation on length. We do by indirectly through the fire code, because the fire code says you can't have more than, and now I'm forgetting, is it 35?
I think
35 units
30.
On a dead end. If you have more than 35, then you have to sprinkle them. And then we also have a provision in the code about water quality that you can't have a dead end water main longer than 600 feet, because then you start running into stagnant water problems. And so then you got to circle that pipe back and make sure water's moving in it. So I don't know that switching to a different criterion gets you away from the arbitrariness of the number. And then to your comment, Tony, about types of uses, I wholeheartedly agree. And so if the decision makers, the planning commission and the city council decided 13 was the number, then if we left the code, or if we left the wording the way it is, then I would still be trying to draw some equivalency and say, well, okay, 13 units, whether they be multifamily or whatever. Once you're at 13 units, or excuse me, yeah, once you're at 13 units, you're done.
So
And I think commercial would just not be part of this, because by nature, commercial should be a destination.
Oh, I absolutely agree with that, Gordon, that it should include no commercial allowed.
So in the example of Wild Horse, what about the road that's going up to the commercial? It seems like that they're asking for it to be narrower, right? And that doesn't make sense to me.
Well, so we do have the pedestrian,
right.
so we do have the sidewalk there. And the rationale is they've provided parking on their site. And so it would totally depend on the commercial being adequately parked on site.
Which is hard to predict.
And Thomas, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe they've proposed more than the required, about 25% more than the required parking spaces.
They did, yeah. They're proposing more than is required by code. That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it makes me wonder. I wonder if we should, though, now that you guys are discussing the numbers, I wonder if we should say for B, the street is a dead end with less than 15 residences. That I've kind of been doing a quick scan. That is more common in most codes than the number 13. I wonder if we should say 15 residences. And to Gordon's point, I think when you say residences, it could be in this case, a 13 unit multifamily unit, but just no more than the 13 residential units, right? Or it could be 13 single family residences. I think the word that you have here is right. I think that satisfies multifamily to Tony's point, as well as single family residents. I just wonder if that number should be 15. It is a more common number as I do a quick scan.
But from an engineering standpoint, I don't really have an opinion. My personal opinion is I think pedestrians should be provided for, regardless of the number. But that's not my decision, and that's a personal opinion. But it's a policy decision whether the town wants to provide for pedestrians everywhere or not.
Another thing to consider is bikes, because I could see a lot of people might try to bike over there. If there's not.
But they won't be going up that hill, Rachel, because those are private homes.
Well, a bicycle's considered to be a vehicle. They should be out there with the cars and obeying traffic rules and using the same system as the cars.
And Rachel, the town is looking to put up some share the road bicycle signs as well throughout the town, actually. We do want to encourage that.
Okay, I'm just saying we need to think about the safety of
Yeah, they
access to the
should
commercial.
they should use the road.
bikes.
They should use the road. They should. That is what we want them to do.
And then I think also seeing that it's going to be a commercial venture venue up there, I think it would, if there are no parking signs up on one side of that road, I think there would be more traffic from the sheriff's department up there that you could actually ask them to enforce it. Not like we see them driving through our neighborhoods once every couple of weeks. or just parked on 248 because of the type of activity that's going to be going on up there. You know, I'm a firm believer that once you write a couple of tickets, word will get out and people will stop doing it, especially when they have to pay $100 for the ticket.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think that we're going to see the need for the signs and enforcement more and more, especially as we consider the town center, commercial development, some of these neighborhood nodes. I think that it becomes more and more important. Right now, all we have is residential development. And I think that as we get to the commercial component, which is something we've wanted for a long time, I think we'll have to put signs up and enforce.
Well, Brad, seeing that we made you sit through this, why don't you tell us what your opinion is?
Well, I think that in any development, you're going to get people walking. I look at it. I mean, I get what the developers trying to do. I get that there's weird spots in this town that you know, for property to be developed. But I think you're always going to have some people walking. I look at if you look at the diagrams to the left of the fire engine is you've still got that 3-to-1 drop off. And if I'm walking on a street and here comes a car, I got to jump over onto the 3-to-1. I wouldn't mind that being less than 3-to-1, maybe like a 2-to-1 or something like that on that downhill side. So I could have some place to jump off if I had to get out of the way.
So this is what I was thinking of when I said I thought I forgot something, Thomas. At one point, you and I were discussing the narrower street, flattening that out and doubling that as a gravel trail.
You know, they put those little gravel trails over by Tuahey, and it's called I think it's the Uni subdivision. They're just barely putting in. The trails are all 4 feet wide, but hey, it's gravel, and I can walk on that and stay out of the street. So, you know, if there's one side where you didn't have the sidewalk, but where you had the public utility easement, where you go and right there and flatten that thing out, where you could go ahead and walk and say, hey, just, you know, put 4 feet of gravel there. It solves a lot of issues.
Yeah. So, Thomas, do you remember we talked about that?
Yeah, we did discuss that. And then we had said, well, for the 7 units that are up above this, maybe they could just walk in the road. They have such steep slopes up there. I don't know that they could make it. Again, I know this is for all developments, but I think that was kind of where we landed because we had looked at doing, you know, just a small gravel trail for those 7 houses. But then I think we were thinking walking in the road, sharing the space might not be all bad.
So
So
again,
that-
I just, and Thomas, you kind of corrected yourself there, but yeah, just a reminder, I mean, you can use this as kind of an example, but don't create these just for this one subdivision. This is going to apply to anyone who wants to use this in the future. So you want to think of it a little more globally.
I know I already expressed that I'm against this, but I just want to say one other thing is that I just feel like we're trying to accommodate developers, and I don't understand why that's a thing that we think we should be doing. I think just so they can build higher density, so they can build what they want to build rather than following our rules. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, Rachel, this is not increasing the density. This is to.
It's
This
so they
is-
can build the way they want to build rather than building the way that we say is safe and the way that we think. It
But
could be
Rachel
done.
also, and go ahead and correct me if I'm wrong. Basically, they can't build on that road to our standards because of the slope, correct?
Well, so in terms of, so we need to talk about, again, Polly's warning here. But if you go up a steep hill, the wider the road is, the greater the cuts and the fills. And so, is it feasible to go up a steep hill with a wide road? Yes. Is there a point at which the impact is too great and the cost is too great? Yes.
So my comment on this is it's a small development. We're talking how many? This, for example, is a small development. I think going back to Thomas's comment, if we cap it at 15 or 13 or whatever, there aren't going to be many people driving on this road, let alone hiking the goat track road up and down it. I think it adds, again, this particular development, adds a benefit by doing the development where it's another, if I'm not mistaken, another egress point for Claim, the upper part of Claim, that would tie in. So maybe there is a little more traffic up there, but I still think it's going to be minimally trafficked, even more minimally walked. So, not only for this development, but other developments of this size in the town, I would be for it. So, and I'm pulling that. My street is very narrow. Tony, do you know how wide our street is? We don't have sidewalks. We don't have issues with cars flying up and down.
Joel, they are narrower than the old town standard that we just amended.
Okay.
I think we're like 24 or 26.
Okay.
at most.
Actually, I think you guys might be 20 feet, believe it or not. I mean, the main spine road through town, Shoreline Drive, Longview, is only 26 feet wide.
Okay. We have 20 units, 20 doors on our street. Very lightly trafficked. I have never felt a concern for walking on the side of the street when one car is going by. So for me, I would certainly be open to, moving this forward.
So I would, I want to amend my presentation. I would recommend at least flattening out on one side of a road and letting the pedestrian use and the public utility use be in the same space. They can do that if there's no sidewalk. And so I would, if the planning commission chose to have this be considered in as an action item, I'm going to want to present it with this PUE being flat on one side for 5 feet to accommodate PEDs that way.
So that could be PEDs on a crushed granite trail or something like that.
Just road base. And the impact is minimal. So we're talking about flat for 5 feet instead of 3 to 1 for 5 feet. So, the impact is just a few inches in terms of additional cut and fill.
See,
Is everybody
Brad,
following me on that?
I was just gonna, Brad, you're not even on the board yet, and you're causing all this trouble.
No, I've extended the meeting.
Does everybody follow me on that proposal?
Yep. No, I agree with you, Gordon. I don't think it's not going to make any kind of difference in construction, is it? Of it?
Well, it's the impact of cut and fill, and I think it's negligible considering the benefit.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think it may change cut and fill or retaining wall heights by a foot or two. I don't think that that's a significant issue. Yeah, I was just
There's
looking.
no way it's a foot. It's so, you know, if we do the math at 3 to 1, over 10 feet, that over 10 feet, that would be 3 1/3 feet. So
Yeah,
yeah, so
I know.
over 5 feet, that would be almost 2.
Right, right. Yeah, I think there is some logic about with regard to doing that.
Yeah, I like that. I like that as well. So I think that's a good compromise.
Actually, I think that works. Yeah, and you guys just so everybody has a clear understanding, I think this will actually be the widest road in town at 27 feet. And so this should work.
And Gordon, you're saying just on one side, correct?
Correct. That's right.
Okay.
Well, so this is not an action item. And so it's just a straw poll kind of a thing. If the council, I mean, the commission believes they'd like to see this at a future meeting as an action item.
I would like to see this at the next meeting, because if we enact this, then we will be able to go forward with the, if this passes, then we can go forward with the rest of the Wild Horse project, depending on their getting their MDA to Polly and Polly getting through it and red line with all if any changes that need to be made to it.
So Alicia, if that's the case, then we would need to notice this 10 days prior to the meeting on the 26th, right? And then we would need to agenda this first on the planning commission schedule that night, right?
It sounds like it, yeah.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure we have a quorum yet on the 26th, so I'm a little worried about that.
Well,
Okay.
So I've got to fiddle with the variance criteria to find some general language that that creates this.
I think we can do that pretty easily, Gordon, because you and I had talked early on about that as kind of this alternative pedestrian access standard. I think we can finesse that.
Yeah, I'm just saying this would not be the exact language because of that issue.
That's right.
Okay, so what's my deadline for providing a staff report on this?
Tomorrow.
Awesome.
Wow.
Gordon, we have you that you don't ask that in a planning commission meeting.
You guys were paying a lot more attention than I was about that. Okay, so really, that is the deadline, huh? Tomorrow?
No, actually, Gordon, we usually.
That's a joke, Gordon. Come on.
Oh,
But if we try to get everything out approximately a week before the planning commission meeting, so it would need to be before that. So you've got time.
I'm a consultant. It's bred into us. When somebody asks us to do something, we say, yeah, we can do that. Then we go back to the office and scratch our head about how we're going to do it.
That's right.
It's that engineer's mentality.
So there was a question from Kathleen. Would there be trails that pedestrians can use rather than sidewalks?
Gordon,
Well,
that
I think we just
before
talked
the
about
discussion. That came in before the crush grant or the trail discussion. So
Yeah.
I think that did that answer that for you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just wondering if what the trail plans are and if they're winding, near the streets anyway, and if that helps get people safely from residential down to the commercial and back via the trails.
Well, this shouldn't be confused with a trail system. I mean, we're just talking about sidewalks
Yep.
or along the side of streets, not to be confused with trail systems that go throughout town and connect with each other.
Do we have any kind of requirements for sidewalks?
Expound for me. I'm not sure I understand the question.
I just know there's some places that towns have requirements for sidewalks based on, I don't know, how busy the streets are or that kind of thing. I'm just saying, are there any requirements at all?
Well, yes, and that's the default standard. So the default standard that I just stopped sharing. Oh, I am sharing the screen, aren't I? So I can just go back to it. There are requirements. That's it. The requirement is that you put them in. But there was some desire to entertain variance criteria. So based on these criteria, if that's what the planning commission and council want to do, then sidewalks would be deleted in some cases. But it sounds like with this last criterion, we never really would delete a corridor for pets to walk in. On one side of the street, there would at least be a flat spot of road base there for people to walk on a street with few residences.
Right. And I think that goes back to Gordon, a maximum of whether it's 15 or 13 or 20 residences, whatever, they can do that road base or gravel or whatever walkway on the side, right? So we need to make sure that's in there, that it's a maximum of X number of residences.
Right, that's correct. Rachel, were you talking about some of the existing roads through town? Is that what you were
Well, I
thinking?
mean, I know there's places that there aren't, and we actually had the one near us removed because it wasn't safe. Because of the rock falling issue. But
Yeah, in the past, we have had roads that did not have the sidewalk requirements, and where that has been the case, as part of the Parks Open Space and Trails plans, we've tried to create trails that get as close as they can to those locations. But you're right, there have been some places, especially on the throughput roads, where we don't have the extent of sidewalk or trails that we would like. It's something that is part of the post plan. We're hoping that we can start to supplement in the future.
so, for example, Shoreline 4, do they have sidewalks included in that plan? We haven't seen any of those details.
We're still working through that. They're in a redesign phase right now, based on some meetings that we've had. We don't know what they're going to come back with yet, so we will see.
Would that be excluded because of the NDA though?
We'll have to work through the details of that. That one,
Okay, we don't know.
it's got a bit of history. That's correct. Yeah.
We don't have that in front of us here, so we should just talk about what's on the agenda.
So let me just share something else with you here. North Hideout Cove. Do y'all know where that one is?
Mhm.
So this is actually this is Hideout Canyon Phase 1. So this is the birthplace of Hideout. This was the first plat in Hideout, and it was developed under the Wasatch County Code, and sidewalk was required on both sides of the street.
And it's funny, they didn't put anything along Longview, the place where you would walk down to. It just stopped.
So
Hmm.
anyway, there's just another reference point. I don't know whether those people like their sidewalk or not.
Gordon, can you go back to that aerial? That is interesting because it looks like they put it in the cul-de-sac and then not the main access road like Longview. It looks like going to the north, did they? Yeah, those are areas where we do have where we are disconnected.
They stopped it right here and said, well, you can walk across the street and go here.
Although if you wanted to go to the north around that house and then go to the north, you don't have access to a sidewalk.
Nope.
It completely stops up there. Yeah, I think
Well,
those are the
there-
places where we really noticed in the post plan. Those are the areas where we need to try to infill, whether that is with kind of crushed granite, CG sidewalks or trails or whatever. Those are areas we hope to infill.
Is there anything else that we need to talk about in regard to the road?
I think we're good.
All right, then Alicia will have this at the top of the list for whenever we meet again.
Sounds good.
Commissioners, I know this was short notice, and thank you so much for your willingness to meet with us tonight.
Oh, thanks for your work, Gordon. And Thomas, if you can maybe send some of the background stuff on this project to Brad in case by some miracle he actually gets sworn in at the town council meeting. He'll be able to catch up a little bit in case we need him as a voting member when we meet again.
I can do that.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. That being said, I don't think there's anything else left on the agenda, so I will make a motion that this meeting be adjourned. And the item discussed will be put on the calendar for the next planning commission meeting.
I second.
Thank you. Rachel?